Okay, good evening, Year 11. So here we are, last English language, paper 2, night before news, the last video that we'll have, as tomorrow is the last exam. So firstly, very best of luck to all of you tomorrow, and a big thank you for all of your hard work so far in this exam series. So same as before, with paper 1, we're going to do the exact same format. So you need a pen, paper, and a copy of the past paper, which has been uploaded to the website where you've accessed this video from. So if you can view that either digitally or ideally print it, that will allow you to more easily follow along with the video. Okay, so we're going to start with a traditional do now. So I'd like you to answer the 6 questions on the screen there, and then I'll show you the answers on the next slide. Okay, so here are the answers to the do now. So just correct your answers for these. It is worth really revising the structure of the paper and going over that, which is the point of this PowerPoint, because it's really important, especially for the reading section of this paper, to know what you're doing and how long you've got to do it. Okay, so reading section, there are 4 questions in total. Question 1 is worth 4 marks, question 2 is worth 8 marks, question 3 is worth 12 marks, and question 4 is worth 16 marks. So you can see the order of priority in terms of the marks. The higher the mark, the more important the question. There is only 1 question in the writing section, same as paper 1, which is worth 40 marks, also the same as paper 1. And our key skills for a couple of those reading questions, for question 3, it's language analysis, which is the same as question 2 on paper 1. And for question 4, it's comparison. Okay, so we have a different skill in this exam because we've got 2 texts to read. So just correct your answers, please, on that one. Okay, so we're using the same format as we did for paper 1, which is a past paper that's been put together and broken down so that at each stage you kind of see what you're doing, how you need to do it, and why you're doing it. Okay, so it's a really useful resource because it's not just a past paper, it has the instructions there with it, so make sure you've got this in front of you, you can see it. First thing you need to do is to read the first source, source A, which is on pages 3 and 4 of the past paper. Okay, the second thing you need to do is to then turn over a few pages later to 5 and 6 and to now read source B. So the first question you'll be answering on the reading section is question 1. So this is a true or false question. You need to pick 4 true statements out of 8 that you are given. So 4 will be correct and 4 will be wrong or incorrect. They are all explicit pieces of information, so things that you should be able to identify whether they're true or not simply by a close reading of the first couple of paragraphs. It's normally the first paragraph, which, as you'll see here, from lines 1 to 5. So answer that question now, and then on the second page of that, check your answers against the corrected answers. Okay, so question 2 requires us to compare. So one piece of advice that we often give students is that actually question 2 and question 4 work much better as a kind of double, as a pair. So it may be that in the exam you want to go forward from question 1 to question 3, because both of those questions are on source A, and then come back to questions 2 and 4, which are about both source A and source B. But that is up to you. We'll explain what question 2 is now. So it's a comparison question where you need to look for the differences normally, but it could be similarities, but normally the differences between something that is common in the text. So in this one, it's about the writer's experience of the theatre, of going to the theatre. This is explicit information. It is not their ideas or thoughts or feelings. It's just what we learn about what happened to them while they were there. Okay, so you can see in the example, the model answer at the bottom. The first extract, Swain, the writer, is an actor, and Charles Dickens is a member of the audience in the second extract. So that is one clear, obvious difference. Okay, so you need to come up with 2 or perhaps 3 of those comparisons supported with evidence from the text. So have a go at that answer and then compare it to the model answer there that you've got at the bottom. Okay, so question 3 asks you to look at a specific source and to look at a specific section of that source, normally a section of about 1 or 2 paragraphs in length. And just like on paper 1, question 2, which you sat last Monday, it asks you to analyse the use of language to create effects. So what that basically means is that we need to be trying to look for the writer's use of things like imagery, the writer's use of word level, kind of language choices to convey meaning about whatever the topic is. Okay, so we need to be picking out keywords, explaining what they make us think or feel, and then developing that into a kind of a deeper analysis of their meaning and associations. But for the higher marks on this question, you'll need to look for examples of similes, personification, and metaphors. Not important to identify the technique, but it is important to analyse those techniques because they make comparisons which always have more deeper meaning. So always look for those and include those, I would say, first in your answer. You're looking for around 3 or 4 quotations analysed in lots of detail to gain you the marks, and this is worth 12 marks as opposed to 8 on paper 1. So it is more important to get this right because there's more possibility of getting higher marks on it. Okay, so again, have a go at the question 3 and then check it against the model answer in the booklet. Okay, so moving on to question 4. So this one is very similar, in fact, to question 2. You're being asked to look at both sources and you're being asked to compare. The differences are that you're now thinking about the ideas and perspectives of the writers. That means how do they think or feel about what they're writing about? What is their kind of take on it? What is their opinion or perception? So it's more inferential rather than just surface meaning. There could be things that you find there that are factual, but it's more likely that you need to infer and to work out how they're feeling based on what they say. Okay, so a good idea with this is to start with a T-table to draw up or come up with 3 points per source, and then to have a range of evidence, perhaps 2 quotes at least per source or per point, sorry, ready to use. 2 things. First, you need to use a range of evidence, so 1 or 2 quotes in this answer is not going to be enough. And secondly, you need to look at the language and structure and any methods that the writer is using to convey their ideas and perspectives, and most importantly to analyse that evidence to link it back to your point. So similarly to question 4 on paper 1, it's a different skill, but we want that level of detail that you hopefully got to in the evaluation question with lots of supporting evidence and analysis. So again, have a go at the question 4 and then check against your model answer. Okay, so then the last question is the writing section. So just a few reminders about this. Firstly, it's really important that you spend the maximum amount of time really that you can, which is about 45 minutes on this question, because it is worth half of the paper. Okay, it is also really important that you make a detailed plan before you start writing, so that you know what you're going to write and what your opinion is going to be before you start writing. Now, this is a question that gives you a statement. It will give you a statement, a fairly controversial or divisive statement, something that you can either agree or disagree with, and it really is best to come up with a solid opinion in response. So either agree or disagree. Try not to sit on the fence, because actually what you're trying to do to a certain extent is to not just inform someone of what you think, but to persuade them to agree with what you say. Okay, so there's a number of things that you might need to include here. So things like sentence structure, things like persuasive techniques, staphorists, things like paragraph structure in terms of your arguments. You want 3 main points in response to the question. Okay, and you also want to make it really lively and engaging. So that might mean, talking directly to the reader, using direct address. So there's plenty of techniques that you can get in here to make that writing interesting and exciting. Have a look at the model answer. So they've given you one that isn't maybe as good as it could be. It could be improved in terms of vocabulary, in terms of sentence structure, perhaps in terms of development of ideas. And again, have a go at writing either a full answer to this question 5 or rewriting the model answer that you've got.